you can look at places like Puerto Rico and the Bahamas and South Florida, the Keys. Those places, when they are ravaged by, Cat 4 or 5 hurricane, it literally takes them a decade to recover.
Right.
So what ZSphere represents is a state-of-the-art building system that's very fast to deploy. It's a permanent structure. It's designed for residential, hospitality, commercial, and municipal applications.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Passive Road to Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Jarrett. Today, we're joined by David Atkinson. David is the founder and CEO of ZSphere. With 30 plus years as a seasoned entrepreneur and multi-decade small family business owner and operator, in its 49th year of business. His experience ranges from 20 plus years of leadership in marine operations on the Great Lakes to 25 plus years of engineering, design, and architecture of enterprise information technology systems at many of the world's largest corporations. This combined experience and knowledge has helped David learn to understand our highly complex power grids, water purification plants, waste treatment plants, and communication networks. ZSphere was created to reinvent real estate in disaster-prone and off-grid regions, improving how we deal with the failure of essential services like power, water, and communications when they're needed most. David, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. Glad to be here.
Great. Yeah, it's glad to have you here. So maybe, you kind of go into your business background a little bit. Seems like you have an extensive resume there.
Yeah, certainly. So the ZSphere is a culmination of 13 years. I'm one of those inventors that was blessed with some divine intervention. I went to bed one night and I woke up the next morning and all the plans and everything for ZSphere was presented to me. And then came to find out over the course of a few years that there was some divine, inspiration there, and have really taken it from there, from a part-time, developing over the course of over a decade to now a formal, company and operation that's growing here. We're going on our third year of business and operation. Nice. And really making some significant progress.
Awesome. Now, how did you come up with the design and the business idea?
Yeah, so I've been in marine operations, as you mentioned. I've been in the construction and carpentry and those industries for many years. So built several of my own homes. So I'm intimately familiar with the shortcomings of conventional construction. Sure. Spent a lot of time down in the panhandle of Florida next to Panama City as a young man growing up, as well as have a lot of family in the Southeast, and continually was reminded of the disaster and the loss of capital and displacement of people when these hurricanes, like most recently Hurricane Ian, happened.
Right.
And had a revelation one day and decided that there had to be a better way. I did not see anything in the marketplace that was poised to solve the very complex problem that those events present us. Mm-hmm. And you can look at places like Puerto Rico and the Bahamas and South Florida, the Keys. Those places, when they are ravaged by, Cat 4 or 5 hurricane, it literally takes them a decade to recover.
Right.
So what ZSphere represents is a state-of-the-art building system that's very fast to deploy. It's a permanent structure. It's designed for residential, hospitality, commercial, and municipal applications. So we can cover, all of the necessary needs for disaster-prone areas, because one of the things that we found and one of the big problems that we solve is the reason why these disasters are so meaningful to areas like Fort Myers and Naples and New Orleans. I mean, I could go on and on.
Yeah.
One of the greatest challenges that they face is when there's that level of destruction and disruption to an economy. What winds up happening is it takes weeks, months, and sometimes years to get back on its feet. And oftentimes it puts such a stress on business owners and, the other essential services in those areas that they go out of business or they relocate and move elsewhere.
Right.
And so what winds up happening is when those essential services disappear, the people in the capital usually go with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so these events have kind of a delayed effect in terms of economic and investment impact. And the ZSphere is designed to prevent that dislocation by providing a building system and essential services, the building, which is very resilient, and then essential services that go along with that resilient building that are undisrupted. Undisrupted power means undisrupted water, communications, and the like. So our next generation communities will be effectively unscathed by these events. It'll take you several days to get cleaned up and everything else, but all the infrastructure, the essential services will still be there, and those communities and economies will bounce right back.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Hope you're enjoying this episode. Are you ready to maximize your real estate investing to its full potential? Join us at Level Up REI Coaching and take your life and business to all new levels.
Send an email to nick@levelupreicoach.com. That's Nick, N-I-C, at levelupreicoach.com.
Now, I guess maybe you could describe what a ZSphere looks like, maybe what it's composed of, and would that have withstood Ian?
Yes. So the ZSphere is as our name connotates, the ZSphere. It's a spherical building. It's a geodesic design, and unlike geodesic domes, which there are many built there, out in the communities around the country, in disaster-prone areas, geodesic domes on the ground suffer the same chronic problems that conventional buildings do. When flood and storm surge happens, they get destroyed, they get damaged, and they need to be repaired. So there's really no, other than the aesthetic differences, there's no economic advantage to doing a dome versus a conventional building. So we took the decades-long proven building resilience of a geodesic structure. We took that a step further and we created a sphere, which is it's built just above the ground, and it's designed such that we've got 5 footings in place in the ground with structural steel supports that anchor that sphere to the ground. What winds up happening is, because it's a sphere, the high wind doesn't even hardly know we're there. The wind naturally flows around our sphere. So if you're wondering why it's a sphere, that's one of the main reasons. Okay. It's like, here's a great analogy. If you're swimming in a fast moving river or body of water, it's much more difficult to swim upstream of the river. It takes a lot of energy, and oftentimes you exhaust yourself. So it's much better to swim with the tide or with the river, and let it and plan things out so that it merely takes you to your destination, if that makes sense. Yep. So think of the ZSphere as much the same thing. Flat, rectangular, and square buildings, Mother Nature just wants to push them over. So it's like trying to swim against a river. Whereas a ZSphere is designed so that the wind just naturally flows around the building. So it's like swimming with the flow of a river, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The other unique thing that we do, Andrew, that has a problem that has not been solved, which is frankly plaguing insurance companies and has for decades. It's why the number 6 insurer just failed in the last 24 months in Florida. Because what happens is, when those floods, hurricanes, and storm surge happens, over 80% of the financial cost to restore buildings after that event is due to water. And so what we do is, the ZSphere has been created. It is a watertight building we keep the water out. We keep the wind-driven rain out. We keep the flood water out by maintaining that watertight building. And so we've checked the boxes of the two major issues that are plaguing insurance companies and that provide investment protection for our clients.
Okay. How long can it withstand water? I mean, can it last a week, 2 weeks submerged in water, or what's the length?
Yeah, it's not designed to be submerged. It is actually designed, it's elevated to such a point where we can accommodate with our standard base a 5 or 6 foot standing water event for weeks if we have to.
Okay.
We have a new base design that we're finishing up and that will be ready here later this year. That design is to accommodate upwards of a 20-foot storm surge.
Wow.
So our ZSphere, again, works with the event. It's not submerged or anything like that. It's just watertight, and we actually work with the event instead of trying to defeat it, if that makes sense, or work against it.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. Now, what size can these be built to? Is there, certain model types, or can you build to any size, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we have 3 standard sizes. It's all we will ever build. We have a 20-foot unit, which is about 550 square feet. Think tiny house, modular housing, very nicely will accommodate 2 to 3 people comfortably. Then we have our 30-foot unit. That's about 1,000 square feet. That will accommodate a nice sized family, 4 to 5 people. Okay. And then we have our 50-footer. That's over 3,000 square feet and 3 stories. And that is designed primarily for commercial and municipal applications. We will have certain clients that want it for residential use that will want a unit that big, but it's mostly targeted towards commercial, resilient offices, as well as resilient municipal buildings, schools, things like that.
Interesting. Okay. And now you say you can deploy them pretty fast. What's a typical build time versus average construction or concrete block?
Yeah, so our business model is designed for a modular build. So we will build these in our facility. We have a proprietary deployment business model to where our spheres are lightweight enough and structurally resilient to where we will complete them. We will more or less complete them in a factory. There'll be a few components that we have to put on in the field, but we will complete them in terms of the modular construction. We will bring it outside the facility, and then we will take a heavy lift helicopter and actually airlift it to the site. It solves many logistical problems which have plagued the Caribbean and southern coastal nations for decades. One of the greatest problems that they face is when these events happen, they have a hard time reconstructing fast enough to keep the people there. Once one of our factories is up in operation, we will literally deploy hundreds of units a month.
Oh, wow.
So fast build times where they are needed and get those economies back on track quickly.
Okay. Now, do you have any already deployed or in testing or anything like that?
Yeah, so we've got a model home under construction in Southeast Georgia. We had to get the structure built so that we could go through a third-party validation. That validation has happened. Now that model is in the process of being finished out, but we are already taking orders because of the widespread nature of the issues that are going on right now and the overwhelming need and understanding by people that we have to do something different. We are already taking orders for our first deliveries in 2023.
Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, I was right in the path of Ian here in Tampa. Thankfully, it missed us.
Yes.
It was awful to see, Fort Myers get hit like that, but I can definitely see the need for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and important also for your listeners, Andrew. So this is all about investment protection, right? At the end of the day, when you're going to build a second home, when you're going to build a primary home, you're retired, you're a remote worker, you want to move to paradise, but yet you don't want the disruptions or vulnerability to losing an investment in a home or whatever it may be. those are the boxes that we check to instill confidence in our clients that their investment's going to be protected. They're going to be able to continue to work and have power and water and everything that they need.
Mm-hmm.
And so our approach to the market is we are building on a community basis. So we're not doing one-offs. Our minimum order size is 5 units. And so we'll go do small Airbnb type developments, especially in places like the Caribbean and whatnot. But when we go into South Florida, we're already negotiating for large properties in South Florida. You think about Homestead, Florida, which was wiped out in Hurricane Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it is still undeveloped because of the aftermath of Hurricane Andrew 30 years later. This is the 30-year anniversary of Hurricane Andrew. Fort Myers, Naples will be much the same. So watch for our early announcements of communities that we're now negotiating with investors and developers to go build. And those communities will start to take shape later next year.
Okay. Now, yeah, it's interesting with the Airbnb. Are they financeable? Can you get, institutional financing on these, or how does that work?
Yeah. So the name of the game behind financing is insurance. So one of the things that we've done is we went to insurance companies months ago and began negotiating and educating them, helping them understand the value proposition behind ZSphere. We've already secured one insurance company down in Puerto Rico that's going to insure one of the developments that we're doing for a client there. It is a beach property. It is primary exposure on the East Coast to hurricanes and such, and they will underwrite our unit, which means it is financeable. So as we continue to work with more and more insurance companies, yes, financing options will be there.
Okay. All right, great. Now, I think I have an idea, but you probably can encapsulate, or is there any maybe plans on the road to encapsulate, existing structures, or is it only new build?
No, in our case, so at ZSphere, we understand we're not going to sell 100% spheres, right? It's going to take a while for the adoption and to be proven in the market,
Sure.
Overwhelmingly so, where nobody's going to want to build anything else because of the resiliency that we demonstrate and investment protection. But in the meantime, we also are providing our expertise to builders in the marketplace. If they want to build with particular materials and build resiliently, we're working and collaborating with many of those right now. So at the end of the day, if your listeners are interested in collaborating with us on building conventional structures resiliently, you're not going to solve the problem with, flooding and storm surge. Those are just, functional realities when you're building on the ground. But if you want to take it to a next level and incorporate some spheres in a development for maybe shelters or, other needs, we'd love to collaborate and work with your listeners.
Okay, great. Now, what's a good website for them to go to check that out?
Yeah, so our website is myzsphere.com, M-Y, the letter Z, and the word sphere, S-P-H-E-R-E.com.
Okay, great. And yeah, I thought it was a very interesting concept, so I was glad to have you on. It was interesting to see, and I've been on the website, and the design is pretty cool looking. So yeah, it's pretty interesting building.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, it's certainly a very intriguing, build. Being very well received by Gen X and younger generations, as you can imagine, because of our sustainability and resiliency, that heightened sensitivity to ecology and the like. And so getting a lot of traction there. I'm out on LinkedIn. I post on a regular basis. I encourage you to follow me and connect with me there. And should anybody, I'm one of those CEOs that I'm continually engaged directly with, with our clients and your audiences. Feel free to email me at david@myzsphere.com with any questions or interest if you have projects somewhere that you want to explore using ZSphere.
Okay. And getting to the business experience, we always ask, you've had, 30 plus years of experience. Do you have a tip or two maybe for somebody that you've learned, throughout that experience of, business advice, just any general advice?
Yeah, certainly. So first and foremost, Successful startups are all about market timing. You have to make sure your market timing is right. If your timing is not right, make plans accordingly. To work in a regular day job, whatever else. But wait until a year, 18 to 24-month window to get your market timing right. That's imperative. There's been countless studies done on it. Market timing is everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then also make sure that you're taking at least 6 to 9 months to vet people in your organization, especially executives. Get to know them, get to understand how they're wired before you get into any serious negotiations around equity or any of that. Set those expectations up front, and you will be much, much better served for it.
Yeah, good advice. I like it. Okay. So now we're going to go into our 5 to Thrive. But before we do, if you just want to give your contact information one more time.
Sure. My personal email is david@myzsphere.com. That's MY, the letter Z, and the word sphere is in round, SPHERE.com. And our website is myzsphere.com.
Great. All right. So this is our 5 to Thrive, which is the word association game. So basically, I just rattle off 5 words and just give me the first word or phrase that comes to mind. The only caveat is you cannot repeat your answer twice. Can't use the same answer.
Got it.
Okay. All right, here we go. First one, climate change.
Not man-made.
Disaster protection.
ZSphere.
Entrepreneurship.
Tenacity.
I like that. Leadership.
Not taught.
And ZSphere.
Jetsons.
Nice. So good. Well, David, thanks so much for coming on the show. I appreciate your time. It was great having you.
Pleasure being here. Thank you, Andrew.